Well, this Russian cow is very beautiful, but it's just at the point where it's about to go to seed. And what I don't want is lots and lots of unplanned Russian cow. I've got Russian cow sown in the polytunnel, so it's time for this to come out now so that we don't get all those volunteer seedlings. And I think the chickens will get a treat. So I'm going to pull this out. It will be quite dry under here because these have got pretty vigorous roots. So we'll give it a watering afterwards. Well, it's the 16th of May. It's about 7 p.m. It's a cool evening. And we're having strawberries and cream for tea. Good times. So this is my Mrs. Green Thumb's Tomato Challenge update. Well, the good news is those seeds from 2014, I had germinations from every single variety, so all 4 varieties. Fantastic news. And the mortgage lifter, I've planted up and put some canes in, and it was quite a tall plant, so I've got it nice and deep and it's looking well. And the next variety that I'm going to plant up is Sudduth's OTV. So this is Brandywine Sudduth's. And again, these are quite leggy plants because I've grown them in the propagator at home, hoping that that would help germination. They've been over here for about 4 days and they're now ready to plant into a bigger pot. Now I'm only going to choose one of each variety. Originally, I was only going to try one variety, but you know what it's like. You get so tempted. There isn't a lot of room in here for any more, but I think I'm going to squeeze one of each. And I'm going to grow them in these big 50-litre pots and get them nice and deep, or the one I choose nice and deep, so that the roots come out of the stem. And I'm sort of thinking that if there's lots of roots in the soil, then that will feed the fruit. And that's step 1 of my strategy. Who knows? I'm just going to do my best. So, which one to choose? Now, there's not a lot between them, but I think this one on the corner is where I'm going to go. And I'm going to make a really deep hole in this and get that fella down nice and low. So, let's get a trowel. Right, down we go. Now I've made this compost very firm because I've run out of canes and I want to put a single cane in it. So I've got to get real about the fact that it needs to be firm so that that cane will stand up. Right, how deep to go? I think that's probably about right. Let's get him down there. Okay, there's one on the corner. Okay, quite a good root system. There he goes, right down below. Get that compost down around the stem. I'm going to put it in fairly firm. And there we have it. And that is Brandywine Sudduth's. And hopefully the others will succeed as well. And I'm going to watch these very carefully and see if I can get that big fruit for the Mrs. Green Thumb's Tomato Challenge 2020. Fingers crossed. So this is my calendula, 4 plants, and they're really healthy. I'm hoping that we'll get some nice bushy, multi-headed flowers on there. And the last pot that I'm going to pot up into my anti-slug pots is this nice group of sweet peas, and I'll put those in next, and they are sweet pea cherub, sown on the 2nd of February. Now these sweet peas are going to need something to climb up eventually, but right now they'll be fine just getting established in the soil. So we'll give ourselves a nice hole for planting and gently put our thumbs and fingers in there. Look at that root ball, amazing. So in it goes, get all the soil around it, and that hopefully will enable it to get established, and then these tendrils will start to wrap around whatever frame I put in there. I need to find that, so we'll come up with something. You can see the problem of having this bank behind these beds. The grass grows over, it's incredibly difficult to cut. So when I get the opportunity, I pull some. But my long-term plan is to get rid of this and have a path in here. It'll make things so much easier. So the time's come to plant up bed number 1. I've got a few weeds in here, very little indeed in reality. There's the proverbial mare's tail, of course, which sneaks up on you in various places. Other than that, just a few tiny little stinging nettle seedlings. Otherwise, the bed's good to go. And in this bed, I'm going to plant my celeriac. I've really taken time over celeriac this year. I've seen so many good celeriacs with nice bulbs or roots, and I planted mine too close together last year, and that resulted in fairly average celeriacs, small, some very small, nothing really substantial. So I enjoyed the vegetables so much that this time I'm going to really go to town. I've planted them up individually, potted them on, so I've got good sized plants, and I'm going to give them plenty of space in here, and hopefully we'll end up with some really nice food. And I'm going to plant monarch in here, which was the first celeriac that I grew. I've also got prinns, and I think I'll end up putting prinns in another bed just so I can keep an eye on the different varieties and decide what I like. So I'm going to give this bed a little bit of a water first, and then we'll plant up the celeriac. It's always interesting when you've watered a bed like this and you think you've taken the weeds out. As soon as the soil gets that darker colour from the watering, you start to see all the weeds that you missed. So it's a good occasion to get rid of those before you start planting, because pulling them out after you've planted may well just disturb what you've just put in the bed. So always pays to give it a bit of a water before you start, if you can. Right, I think we're now ready to get some celeriac in. So here we are. This is the celeriac monarch, roots at the bottom, really nice plants. And this is the prinz that I sowed a little bit later. Really healthy, but not quite as good as these. So as far as I can, I'm going to dedicate it to these and then perhaps finish off with a few prinz at the end if there's space. So I'm figuring about 12 inches apart should give me maybe 18. Let's see. It's the difference between 3 across and 4 across. But seeing I'm going for those really big roots, I think I'm going to stretch the spacing and see if I can get the optimum growth of celeriac. Okay, so that's not bad. I just need to get the spacing right. Get these in the middle, bring these over a little bit more so they're not too close to the edge. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go for. It's fairly luxurious planting, but as I say, I'm really having some fun growing the best I can. There we are. It's taken me a long time to get the discipline of planting these sort of plants with decent gaps in. There's always the temptation to get more in a bed, and you think you're going to get more in the way of produce from it. Sometimes that isn't how it works. The space around it means that you get a better end result on fewer plants and end up eating more. So I've planted these pretty much level with the soil as they were in the pot, and I think they'll do quite well in here. So I'll get them watered in and get them covered up. Now these Swedes, they're a winter crop of course, and there's quite a lot of space in this bed. So I'm going to use a catch crop in between them just to make the most of the bed during the summer months. And these white Lisbon spring onions have come on okay, but they really have met their ceiling in these polystyrene cells, which are very small. So I'm going to get them out of here and get them into the bed in between the Swede and see if we can get some extra spring onions. Very exciting news. I think I better update you on the great squash and pumpkin race. It's 3 days on since I sowed them and nothing. Perhaps I've just got to be a bit more patient. But it is going to be interesting to see which of those varieties pokes their head through the soil first. I'll keep you updated. Good morning. Well, today I'm going to be planting up leeks. And essential ingredients for leek planting is a barrow full of water and a nice dibber with a good depth, and of course a whole load of leeks. So these leeks were planted into this polystyrene container, which is deep intentionally, and they've been in the cold frame now for a good 4 or 5 weeks, and they are getting to be about pencil size, which is just perfect. If I leave them much longer, they'll start to suffer, and the next step is to get these out of this polystyrene container and into this barrow of water, and that's going to enable them to soak, and the soil, the compost, will drop off the roots and make them very easy to pick out and then plant. So, moment of truth, getting them out of this container. there they are, and straight into the water. And they're going to sit in there now for a good 10-15 minutes, let all the water soak up, and then I'll gradually tease them out by agitating them so that they're effectively just floating in the water. So we'll give them that spell of soaking up the water. Now while they're soaking, I'm going to make sure that the bed is as free of weed as I can make it. There's quite a bit of that mare's tail still in here, and probably will be for the whole season, but all the time I keep picking it and weakening it, and hopefully there'll come a time when there's very little indeed in this bed, although I don't know when that'll be. Right, carry on through this bed now and we'll get it all prepared. Well, there was a very light rain last night, and that means that it's that much easier to see the weeds when the soil is a little bit darker. There's that mare's tail, continually needs pulling into the weed bin. Right, here we go. So you can see this is a bit like a soup now, but if you just hold the leeks together and just gently shake them in the water, you can see you've got a whole load of plants just perfectly ready to put in the ground. And we'll get those in now. Now, spacing with leeks is always a bit of a quandary for me. I find that if you put them reasonably close together, then it acts as a bit of a earthing up because of the shade, and I think they grow a little bit taller. But you can do whatever suits really, and they're a very resilient vegetable. So I'm going to leave myself that bit of gap for where the net comes across and covers the light. So I'm going to start from this hoop, and all I'm going to do is make some really deep dibbered holes. In this case, it looks like I'm working out at about every 6 inches. And I'm going to go probably just 4 or 5 inches away in the next row. Now, when these grow up, they're going to hit the net, and that'll be the time to take the netting off. But in the meantime, it will keep the cats off. So all we're going to do is take a group of these prepared seedlings and drop them in the holes. I always think it pays just to push the roots down if they stick up. And they can go as deep as you like. And we're not going to put soil over the top of these. All we're going to do is water into the hole, and the act of watering into the hole will surround the roots with soil and also make sure that there's really good contact with those roots so that the plant gets a good start. And from then on, we just water into the hole, and you find over time that the hole just disappears. But a goodly amount of the plant is left underneath the soil surface, and that of course helps with the blanching of a white stem. And there we go. You can see these are going to go a long way, and I'm just going to get those watered in and carry on planting. Now I have to be honest with you, this is the point where I get a bit perplexed. I've put those leeks in, just great. There's enough in here to do this bed probably 3 times over, and I've got 2 other varieties to come out. So what do? Well, I'm not sure. At this stage I'm just going to put some compost back into here, water it, and just keep these going, and consider putting out the other ones. Now I purposely went for 3 different varieties to see what would work well. These are Musselburgh, I know they work well, but they didn't last into the winter as much as I would have liked. So I've bought a seed for a leek called Giant Winter, which is supposed to last longer, and it's important that I give it a good test. So I'm probably going to put the rest of this bed over to that winter leek, and these I'll just keep on the boil for now, and who knows, I might find somewhere to put them, or I can give them away. Good idea. So this is the variety Winter Giant, and I've gone 5 deep from here on, just so I can distinguish the point at which they change, and who knows, it may mean we get longer, whiter leeks. We'll see. But it's the same process. Get them in as deep as I can without being too fussy. Gosh, that's a nice leek, a really good seedling, nice and thick already. And I'm sure I'll have backups of these as well. By the time I finish, I don't think they'll fill all these holes. I need to leave just a few at the other end for the 3rd variety, which I have, which is a blue leek. And we'll just try a few of those to see whether we like the taste and whether they grow well in this soil arrangement. So I'll carry on planting these up, and then that'll be the leek bed complete. And it's all about watering and growing from that point on. So there we are, 2 varieties into the bed and 1 more to go. And we're not going to waste this water that's full of the compost. It's going to go on this particularly dry end to the bed where I had the broccoli up until recent times. And that'll just serve to add some goodness to that bit of the bed. I think it's important to show you what's left of the seedlings. So way too many, but when you sow leeks there's loads of seed in a packet, and if they all come well, that's the end result. So hopefully somebody will benefit from there somewhere on the plot, or I might find a little bit of space somewhere to stick them. Who knows, we'll see. There we go. They're laying down at the moment, but they'll all be stood up like soldiers within a day or 2, and that's a good job done. There's nothing more satisfying than getting the leeks in. You're thinking about the crops that you're going to be harvesting later on in the year. And it occurred to me while I was just tidying up then that this garlic will be coming out in good time, but it will leave a goodly amount of space for another crop, and maybe that will be those leeks that I've got that are spare, although there's clearly a lot more than will be needed to fill that space. So these are my last two Mrs. Green Thumb's Tomato Challenge entries, and we've got Golden Dixie Giant, or Dixie Golden Giant, and we're going to plant that one really deep because it's quite a tall, lanky plant grown in the propagator indoors, and we know that the stem will root, and hopefully that will give it an awful lot more goodness into the fruit, and I'll get a big tomato. That's the plan. So down nice and deep and firm it in just a little, and if I want to I can top this up right to the rim just to get more of that root surrounded. And then this fella, which is Brandywine OTV, exactly the same strategy, and get it nice and deep, and there we go, that looks good, and right down to the bottom, there we go, and surround that stem, firm it down a little, managed to spill a whole load of compost, which I'm not going to waste. There we go, and I'll give those a good watering in, and then fingers crossed they will turn into nice large plants with plenty of large fruit. I do hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and if you want updates from me each time I upload a video, click the bell and select all. I do hope you have a great day. Diolch yn fawr.